welcome everybody to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you for joining us for our, what we believe is the 5th annual Interfaith Holiday Craft Beer Spectacular. We've got our friends from Rainy Day Brewing here. We're going to taste through 14 holiday beers, blind taste them, and give you our rankings. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I've had 13 different beers and tasted through a lot of them and double tasted a few.
I just mentioned that we had 14 beers, so I'm thinking you probably had a few if you're already thinking.
Probably. Oh, you know what? I forgot about the extra one we added.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And then we've tasted some others outside of those as well.
Yeah, and I'm tasting one of those right now. So, yes, It's been a fun day.
It's been a good time. Yeah. Good time. Rainy Day Brewing, Mike and Ron. Guys, how you doing? Mike, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Tim. Thanks for having us again. This is something I always look forward to.
It's a good time. Ron, how about you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, we're going to dive into this. We're going to share some stats on the beers that we drank. You know what? We'll start off, Brian. I think beers of the week. We'll talk about the beers we're going to drink here for the holiday tasting. And then we'll kind of break down what we thought of each one. But our beers on deck, we have 13 as part of the tasting. And then our 14th one, the reason we didn't put this in the blind tasting is we can all pick it out instantly when we drink it. And that is Sierra Nevada Celebration Ale. But it's a wonderful one to have this time of year. So we did go ahead and include it in our drinking activities. There.
Indeed.
So
you have to have it.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah.
But our official ones that we blind tasted for this, we got into Bell's Brewery's Christmas Ale. We got through Brasserie, Deschutes, N'Ice Chouffe. We got Brasserie. I never say that word right, Brian. I don't know my Belgian and my French and all those other languages.
It sounds close enough to me, Brasserie.
But Dubuisson, the Scaldis Noel. I can say Scaldis Noel there. So we also have Corsendonk's Christmas Ale. We have St.Bernardus' Christmas Ale. We got one. This one's new to our tasting this year. I think the first time maybe we've got it in Georgia, or at least the first time we've noticed it. But from Costco, we have brewed by Deschutes. We have their Kirkland Signature Vintage Ale in the tasting. We have from Highland Brewing, Cold Mountain, which we will look forward to every year. We have Delirium Noel. We have from Rogue Ales, which we definitely picked up with their recent closure. We figured we better get it while we could. Yeah. But that is Santa's Private Reserve. From Schloss Eggenberg, we have Samichlaus Classic. From Shiner, we had their Holiday Cheer. From our local Sweetwater Brewing, we had Festive Ale, and from Sycamore Brewing, we had Christmas Cookie Ale that we tasted through this year. So, Brian, I know that you looked at all of our beers, you studied their ABVs and all that stuff, and you got some stats on kind of commonalities or outliers on our beers this year.
Yeah, I like data. I like putting things in spreadsheets and seeing commonalities. But, so our average this year is it's down a tenth or two of percentage points from last year, but our average ABV of our beers is 8.9%, and the average rating in Untapped is 3.79. The highest ABV of anything we're going to be drinking today is, of course, Schloss Eggenberg's Samichlaus Classic at 14%. The highest Untapped rating for any of the beers is Highland's Cold Mountain. It's got 4.11 right now, so that's I think that's been moving up every single year I've been tracking it. The lowest of the ABVs is Rogue's Santa's Private Reserve at only 5%. And that one is, interestingly enough, a dry Irish stout that they picked a dry Irish stout for a Christmas beer. But okay, that's fine. We'll do that. And in terms of Untapped rating, the lowest is Sweetwater's Festive with a 3.59, which it's low, but that's not actually a terrible rating for a beer in Untapped. So, in terms of style, the breakout of styles, we've got 6 winter ales, 2 stouts, 1 winter warmer. For some reason, a lot of movement away from winter warmers as the years have gone on. We used to be 50-50 winter ale and winter warmer. Just 1 this year. 1 Belgian Strong Dark, and we've got 3 others, 4 if you count Celebration. In terms of the countries represented to this time, we've got 7 from the U.S., 5 from Belgium, and 1 from Austria. And that Austrian one is, again, the Samichlaus Classic, which we'll be talking more about that in a bit. All right, so if we went purely by the Untapped prediction, if we use the ratings, how would our beers break out? Highland, obviously, would the Cold Mountain would be at number 1. Number 2 would be Scaldis Noel. And 3rd would be Bell's Christmas Ale. And of course, dead last because, like I revealed before, Sweetwater's Festive, it had the lowest rating. This is an interesting thing I discovered this year that I don't think I'd seen it before in Untapped, but Do you guys know that Samichlaus is now classified as a malt liquor in
I
Untapped?
feel like we may have mentioned that before.
Did we?
All of us were shocked that it was classified as a malt.
Because I think I'm 100% sure at some point it was a Doppelbock.
So it's all right
Untapped.
in there with stuff like Old English 800 and all the other classic
Which means it makes a lot of sense that you find it in like really large bottles. It's malt liquor. I'm like, it's the best malt liquor I've ever had in my life. It's
can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Does that mean it has to be drank out of a paper bag?
We did it wrong, man. We should have had it tossed in a paper bag there.
yeah. Our tasting glasses should have been wrapped in paper to appreciate it properly. So
A 750 of that or a 40 ounce of that in a paper bag, you'd just be done for, man. You wouldn't make it out of that.
that would be great. Like it's not the most cost effective maybe in terms of 40s, but looking at the list, one of the questions I had is, did you think of any of these? Like, I'll be able to predict that when you looked at the list. I'm like, when I drink that
one, I did get one of them. So when I looked at the list, one I thought that I would be able to Cold Mountain because we drank so much.
Yeah,
I figured but I did not. I didn't pick it out as we were drinking it this year. There was one that I did guess after I tasted it. I was like, I think this is this one. But just looking at the list and think, you know what, Festive, I thought maybe that I could, just because that's another one we've had a lot of.
I came into this cocky. I thought for sure I'd get Festive because I know the flavor of it. I don't think I did Shiner because, again, that's very recognizable. And I actually did get that.
We did.
One.
I think a few of us did guess that one.
And I thought I would get Scaldis Noel because I developed quite a love for that in the last show, but I don't think I got that one right either. So I was cocky, and I think I was not very accurate.
Not successful.
Not very successful, no.
Well, let's talk about some of the beers we drank. We're going to break these down into a few groups here, but the number one beer, and not the number one as far as our rating goes, but the first beer that we drank was the Bell's Christmas Ale. Ron, what'd you think of beer number one there?
Well, what I had on there, it had a very toasty caramel notes with a lot of pine in it. I didn't rate it real high. I gave it about a 3 out of 5. I guess I noted 3.5 out of 5. It had a pretty high alcohol content to it, or it felt like it had a pretty high alcohol content. Maybe it's because it's the first beer of the night, but middle of the road for me.
Middle of the road, just middle there, Midland. Brian, how about you?
I like this. I was, again, it's like fresh palate starting off, and I have a lot of notes about it's like interesting burnt sugar notes and things to it, like fine carbonation. I thought initially tasting, I put in my notes, maybe this is Belgian. I wasn't 100% sure.
Maybe so, huh?
But I later on looking back at it, trying it again, it's like, no, definitely not. It just definitely didn't have that. I liked it. I thought it was good. Yeah,
it's funny you say that because I also put Belgian-y down on my notes there. So, and I noticed that it had that there was a nice malt presence, but there was a hop bite to it. So, there was a little bit of hops there. I got a nice caramel, and I did think I got some Belgian character in it as well there. So I'm going to do things just a little bit different this year. In previous years, I don't think we've revealed any of our top spots until the end of the show, but I'll say as we go through where these ranked, and then we'll recap it at the end of the show. But the Bells was tied for our number 2 position there. So we did have quite a few of us and that was with 5 points. And to recap the way we score these, we all pick our top 3 beers. Our number 1 gets 3 points. Our number 2 gets 2 points. And our number 1 gets 1 point. And then we tabulate there, who all did. And this one received 5 points, and it showed up on 3 of our lists in different places. And also, I'm going to back up. We didn't say hey to No Mike Nate. He's No Mike Nate again in this show rather than Mo Mike Nate. We also have to thank Party Nate, who is just an amazing host. He pours the beers for us. So thanks to Party Nate for pouring the beers. He also makes his Chex Mix, and we get some chips and salsa snacks to go along with it. So Nate and Nate host us for this tasting. So we appreciate that very much. But so that's the Bell's Brewery's Christmas Ale. That's what we thought about that one. The number 2 beer that we drank was Sweetwater's Festive Ale. Michael, what'd you think of Festive?
I got to be honest. Even going back at the end, this was my least favorite of all the beers we drank tonight. My notes on this were thin, dull, and soapy.
Thin, dull, and soapy.
It's unfortunate because I really would love to promote a local brewery as a Georgia guy, but they swung hard and missed on this one.
My notes on this one is a word that I can't say on our show. And then I said very bitter and bitterly astringent. to me. And then I just put nasty. And I hate saying that. Again, we love Sweetwater. They've been very good to us, but these are my blind tasting notes, not knowing what I was getting into. And I believe in years past, we've really enjoyed Festive Ale. I mean, it's one I've looked forward to, but this year, whatever they did, it did not come out. I didn't care for it at all.
It needs a little bit more body to sustain those spices. There's an astringency, and like you said, of all the beers we had this time, that was the one that dried my palate and my tongue out the most after drinking it. I'm like, no, that's not right. So, yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and this one did not get any votes from any of us in the top 3 there, unfortunately. So that's too bad, definitely. The third beer that we drank, again from Costco, brewed by Deschutes, the Kirkland Signature. No Mike Nate, whoever you are over there, what'd you think of the Deschutes?
This one I said it had a rich nose, it had good flavor, but it was boozy. And that's really all I wrote down for it. It seemed a little like it had heat to it, like almost an alcohol burn that I was not expecting and not enjoying.
Okay. Got you there. Party Nate, what did you think of the Costco / Deschutes beer?
I had the advantage of knowing what the beers we were tasting were. So there's that's something to consider. But tasting this, I thought this was an obvious, when I was distributing it to everybody, I thought people would guess this one pretty quickly, because it's probably the most bourbon forward of all of the tastings that we had today. And I enjoyed that aspect of it, but I think maybe because I knew what it was, my perspective on it was a little biased towards, this one's a good beer, because I was expecting this is what I knew it was, but you guys didn't know what it was.
So I noted on this one, I said boozy. I got some caramel character in it. Another one, my palate may be off on this, or maybe we're just getting some esters and phenolics in them, because I also noted kind of Belgian-y in this one. And the problem with this one, though, is I thought it had kind of harsh edges. I thought it needed to be more rounded, more refined. And Michael, I think you and I talked about that, and we kind of agreed that it just didn't seem cohesive there.
Yeah, I think we both used the same words. I said I wanted more rounded or smooth.
Yeah.
You were talking about, I think both of you were talking about, it finishes kind of rough. It was
rough
nearly,
on the finish.
It was nearly perfect, but it finished badly. I liked it. And I'm like, I also thought it was quite nice. And Tim, I agree with you. I was thinking, this is a little Belgian-y. Maybe this is Belgian. No, it's not. But I thought it was good. And despite some flaws maybe in the finish, I actually like this. This was an early contender for me. So,
that being said, Brian, it did not end up making your top 3.
It did. No. It was quickly surpassed by other beers.
Yeah. So again, unfortunately, the Deschutes Kirkland's beer did not get any votes from any of us in the top 3 there. So our number 4 beer from our friends in Asheville at Highland, Cold Mountain. So Ron, what did you think of Highland's Cold Mountain?
Well, I actually really liked it because it tasted more like a non-Christmas beer. It was kind of plain. It didn't have the spice. It didn't have the roast. It just didn't have a lot to it, which I kind of liked. But I don't think it scored overall very well because of that.
Yeah, and I'm going to go here on the fly. Brian, you want to share your thoughts? Because I have to make a correction to our top 10 here. I looked at my tabulations wrong, so I'm going to do some quick math on things here.
So I guessed incorrectly on this. I misread some of the sweetness I got out of it. That was I wrote down in my initial thought was there's almost like a strawberry sweetness to this, which is weird because I'm wondering if there was cross contamination with something like that. But I noted it had a nice caramel brown color. And after that, I'm like, I think this might be Shiner. I found out later that I'm definitely wrong on this, but I thought this was fine. It beats the number 2 spot, which was the Sweetwater Festive, but it wasn't really that much of a contender for my top beers. I'm like, this is here until better stuff comes along. So
okay, I looked at our notes wrong and my notes wrong in our rankings because I thought this had tied for our 3rd spot. It did not tie. And my notes on Cold Mountain say it's thin, flavorless with a slight toasted caramel. in it, which is disappointing. I really wanted to love that one. So we always like that.
If I may, Tim, I think we were disappointed in Cold Mountain last year as well.
We were.
I think this is the second year running.
I was telling Party Nate earlier, I was like, I'm glad this one ranked because it is kind of back and forth, how it ranks there. But unfortunately, I think that's a few years that we haven't seen strong showings from Cold Mountain. So.
It's interesting that we disagree so much with Untapped because Untapped, I think this one had the top rating. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, it just did not hit for us there, but, nothing we can do about that. Again, we do taste these blind, not knowing what we're getting into there. So, but that's our first grouping of 4 beers. And Brian, before we move on, you looked at, you've got some info here on beer styles. We've got winter ales, we've got winter warmers, we've got Christmas ales, holiday ales, and that. So exactly what in the world does that mean?
Yeah, so one of the big questions around this time of year is, what's the difference between a winter ale, a winter warmer, a Christmas, or a holiday ale? In most cases, I think it's not much. These are pretty loose categories, and they're kind of open to, whatever the marketing department thinks the beer needs to be called to sell it, basically. But generally speaking, a winter warmer typically has a big malt presence. It's brownish red to black. It's frequently spiced, but not always. The spicing is more of a recent thing with the winter warmers. I think the booze content to it, the warming aspect is the important part of it. So alcohol is part of it. It may have a hop aroma, but it's going to have a low or balanced hop bitterness. So you're not looking for a hop bomb. And like I said, the warming aspect, it's going to have some alcohol warmth to it. That's a key thing. So it's about rich, sweet malt and booziness more than spices typically. So winter ale is the other category that's very common. It's actually more common these days than winter warmer. It's kind of a catch-all category. It's very popular with the Belgian beer styles. Like all of the Belgians are classified as winter warmers or in some cases malt liquors. But either way, it's a non-traditional style seasonal beers with higher alcohol heat. They often fall in this category. It's used interchangeably with winter warmer. In fact, Cold Mountain in the Untapped record in there, it's described interchangeably as a winter ale in some cases and a winter warmer in other cases. So it's clear that they don't have a thought about these two being a different thing. So as for a Christmas or a holiday ale, this is another catch-all without rigid parameters. It's just kind of like a seasonal thing. It's a marketing thing. It is more likely to have seasonally appropriate spices. What's the
nutmeg,
bread?
cardamom, cinnamon, those kind of things.
I was thinking, what's the bread that everybody likes to joke about, giving away and hating? And
fruitcake. You just talking about fruitcake?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Fruitcake.
Yeah.
It's going to be fruitcakey frequently. So, so it's not going to be as big in malt or alcohol warmth, maybe as a winter warmer, but it may be. It's in the tradition of the wassail and the heated beers. So, should I get into some historic styles, Tim?
Not at this moment in time, Brian.
Okay, let's move on.
We'll move on now. We're going to talk about our second grouping of beers and getting on to our fifth beer. That was Delirium Noel. Mike Nate, what'd you think of Delirium Noel there, sir? How'd that one do for you?
This one, I noted a sharp carbonic bite right on the front end that was largely unpleasant to me. But on the back end, I was able to pick up some of those Christmas holiday spices that Brian had just mentioned. But overall, it just really wasn't hitting it for me, just because of how unpleasant that initial sip was.
Yeah, Michael, how about you, man? What'd you think of that one?
I was a little bit disappointed. I didn't get the bite that Nate got. I did get a lot of Christmassy notes. I got plum and peach. I got a little cracker and gingerbread in it. But I've always been a fan of their Tremens beer, and I really didn't feel this lived up to what I think of when I think of Delirium beers. No,
I got probably like the carbonic bite you were talking about. I said salty. Kind of gave me a saltiness on my palate there, which definitely didn't seem appropriate. And this did not get any votes in our top three here. We were actually pretty consistent with a couple outliers through our top beers. I think we all were, there was a fairly decent consensus other than Ron trying to mess us up here being a hater. And we'll talk about that a little bit later there on what we got there. But then moving right along, our sixth beer was Corsendonk. Christmas Ale, and that's the one I guessed. So Party Nate did tell me, I'm like, I think this is Corsendonk, and that definitely did hit for me. I thought that was not great. Unfortunately, it didn't do it for me. Brian, how about you, man? What did you think of that?
I was curious. Corsendonk is one that we've had intermittently, but not every time. What made you think specifically Corsendonk? Did you specifically remember it from previous times we had
it tasted familiar. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's one that I have had fairly consistently each year, one place or another. I don't know exactly what it was that jumped out and made me say this is Corsendonk. It just happened to, I'm like, this tastes familiar to me, and I think but that's what it is.
Yeah, when we were approaching it, I was like, this is one where I'm like, I don't really know what I should expect from this. So, I've had it, but I don't recall it. So, because it's never been like a big winner for me.
Other than, the Deschutes I've never had before. Sycamore Christmas I have not had before. But I think everything else we had on the list I've had in previous years that we've got too.
I definitely got this one wrong. I wrote down that I thought it was American. Like I've gotten some of the Americans wrong, thinking they're Belgian. This one I got vice versa. I thought this one was good. I got a little like a syrupy, sweet, like touch of fruitiness in it, and a solid carbonation level. I thought was good, and I think this one I wrote in my notes this was the first one I tasted so far in the blind tasting that didn't have an obvious flaw to me, like some small thing that would make me say, I like this, but like, I just like this. I thought this was a good beer,
but
so yeah. And at this point in time, this one took the lead over everything else I tasted.
Okay.
So Corsendonk did well. And I don't know why, but they've never really registered to me as something I predict or have thoughts about, but I'm going to have to pay attention to Corsendonk from here on out. So
keep an eye out, man. Keep an eye out. Then moving on, the seventh beer that we tasted was a Scaldis Noel. And Party Nate, what do you think of Scaldis there? How'd that one go for you?
This is coming after all of these other beers that have been kind of building up. There was a good amount of, I don't know, maybe disappointment.
Okay.
And
all right.
Going through these beers, I was expecting maybe there's something that shines. I think Scaldis was the first one that really shone through, and this is where I thought, oh, maybe we have some contenders in here of what we could suggest. I really enjoyed Scaldis. It's sweet, it's Christmassy, it was robust. I enjoyed this one a lot, and it almost made my top. Almost
made it there. So Brian, this did make it into your top three there. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, this being Scaldis is one of the ones in my cocksure attitude coming into it, think I'll definitely predict this. I love this. I'm like, I didn't, but my notes say this was easily my like first new favorite. The last one, like 6, was the first one without flaw that was good. This one was actually like, I like this a lot. Not only does it not have flaws, but this really stands out as something I like. I got like honey and ginger. I got a little touch of cinnamon to it. Like it quickly took the lead for me. So I like this one a great deal, and it did wind up being in my top. So yeah, I've enjoyed Scaldis Noel every time I've had it. I always look out for it, now, and I recommend it. Good stuff.
Yeah. And Ron, it also made your top 3 there. What's your thoughts on Scaldis?
Yeah, it was my number 2. I like the really dry finish of it. I was one of the beers that I was able to actually pick out the spice. The ginger to me was very prevalent, and I really like ginger, so that worked for me. It was boozy, but at the end it cleaned up nicely. It was just a real nice drinking beer.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Awesome. Moving right along here. Our number 8 beer that we tried was from Shiner Brewing, Holiday Cheer. Mike, what did you think of Holiday Cheer?
I was not super impressed by it. I did have some good notes. It was very fruity. I got a cherry brandy note from it, but it was a little thin. And what I wrote down was, compared to some of these others, it was uncomplex. There wasn't a lot going on in this beer. And with a Christmas beer, I'm looking for some depth, something where I want to sit and sip 4 ounces or 6 ounces or 8 ounces of. I would have put this one down and picked up something else. Certainly the one that came before it was way better.
Gotcha. Yeah, and this is one. So I favorable, but again, I don't think it was anything. Michael, kind of like you said, nothing super impressive. But I said that it had a nice body to it. I said the pretty smooth character there. I did note, slightly fruity there. We all got, I think all of us commented, cherry on the nose. It smelled very cherry on the nose, even though, and really nice cherry on the nose, actually. But
very nice, yeah.
But it's what is it? Peach and pecan, I think.
I believe that's right.
What's in it? But aroma on it was stellar, absolutely.
And this is such an iconic beer that I think everybody had kind of guessed what it was, or very quickly came to the idea of what it was. It only took a couple of us. The aroma kind of threw us off a little bit because it's a little different from what it actually is like described to be. But yeah, I mean, there's kind of no mistaking Shiner Cheer. It's. I think it's very iconic once you taste it. Yeah,
good stuff there. So, all right, guys. Then moving on to our number 8 beer. Number 9, we had N'Ice Chouffe there. And Nate, what did you think of N'Ice Chouffe?
This one I actually thought was a Sycamore cookie, the Christmas cookie beer. As I said, it was malty, it had some spice, some caramel, but it had like this sugary sweet note to it that I honestly did expect this one to be the Sycamore beer, and it wasn't.
It was not Sycamore. That's the thing. This beer was not Sycamore.
I checked, and that's true.
That checks out. That checks out, man. That checks out. Brian, what did you think of it, sir?
I thought this was great. I didn't write. It was a little later in the tasting, so I didn't write a lot to it. It's like this tastes Belgian-y, and I like it. A good amount of spices I got into it. It had that feel of Belgian, and based upon times in the past where I've really enjoyed Delirium Noel, I guessed it was Delirium Noel. I'm really surprised it was N'Ice Chouffe, because N'Ice Chouffe has let me down in the past. It's one of the very first beers I ever had at Brick Store Pub, and it kind of changed my entire perception of what Belgian beers were. It's a beer that I hunted down for a long time, but in recent years, like in these tastings, it hasn't done well, but it did really well for me this time. I like this a lot.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Awesome. Well, Brian, before we move on here, we do like to give a shout out to our sponsor, especially at this time of year, or any time of year, to be quite honest with you. So how about we give a shout out to our good friends at Truck and Tap?
That sounds like a good idea. It is a crazy time of year. Everybody's out and about. Stores are full of people, and the Atlanta traffic is, well, it's the Atlanta traffic. Arguably a little worse than usual, but I mean, how on earth could you even tell, really? So maybe you're listening to this while you're braving the traffic and the crowds to do some last minute shopping, or maybe you're putting it all off and you're worrying about the holidays. Whatever you're up to, the chances are it's been a little stressful. So why not treat yourself to a little truck and tap therapy? That's what is called for this time of year. Getting truck and tap therapy is easy. Instead of driving to the mall or some other place, you just head to the nearest truck and tap location, your Woodstock, Alpharetta, Duluth, or Lawrenceville, whatever's closest to you. The next step is grabbing a bite from the day's food truck, then make your way over to the bar and grab a seat. That's where you give yourself the gift that you've wanted all year. That's beer. Yeah, beer. There are 20 taps to choose from. Pick your favorite. While you're at it, pick your second favorite too, because you've earned it. Or if you'd rather, and you might, maybe a cocktail is in order. Right now, Truck and Tap, it has a special cocktail list for the holidays with things like peppermint martinis, spiced cranberry margaritas, cabin fever old fashions, which I think they're even smokier than usual. I actually don't remember what those are, but whatever you pick, bask in the joy of a drama-free drinking experience. And while you're there, make the most of your visit. Buy that craft beer lover in your life a truck and tap gift card, or get one for yourself. Look at that. You just cross something off your to-do list. And if you did it right, you even got some bonus bucks at the same time. That calls for another beer. Reward yourself for doing that extra little bit of work. So as always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. The taps change quickly. You never know what great new beer might go on. And if you'd like to see what the food trucks are serving and what events are happening, your trivia, your karaoke, your Christmas pop-up bars, I think, that they have going on right now, you can find that at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com, so check that out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We greatly appreciate it. And Brian, we do like to talk about, there's more than just beer to drink at the holidays. I don't know if anybody was aware of that, but there are things that are holiday seasonally that are good to go. And some of those are warm, Brian. And we actually did, after we recorded our show, everyone's here has heard us talk about roaring a beer or poking a beer and that.
Yeah.
We recommend it if you haven't done it. And we've seen more bars and breweries that are doing this now. And you get a big, long metal rod. They actually sell beer pokers. We've got one. I think the brand is Beer Caramelizer.
It is,
that we have. But you put that in a fire and you get it just smoking hot. And you pour the beer about halfway. You don't want to fill the glass up because when you stick the hot poker in there, it does release that carbonation and foam it up. But get it real hot, get you a malty profile beer. Christmas beers are perfect for this. You want lower hop character because it really makes the hops bitter if you do it. But take your rod, heat it up, poke it down in that beer about 5 seconds. You want to get a good roar out of it. And it's going to heat up the head on there, but if you serve the beer cold, it's not going to make the beer warm. And you get, you caramelize sugars, you get more toasty malt out of it. So try it both ways. Try it non-poked and poked, but it's something fun to do, and you get to play with fire and beer in the cold weather. So it's two great things there.
That's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah, you really can't argue with that, man. Absolutely. Well, Brian, what are some of these other warm beverages we can get into?
Yeah, a lot of these are historical things, but you can still get into some of them. So historically speaking, there's a thing called, if you heard about the carol, Here We Go, a wassailing or whatever, that's a beverage. It's a hot mulled punch made from hot mulled cider, ale, and or other, wines and other spices, according to Wikipedia, that was typically, put in a bowl like that was passed around, and it frequently included toast. So it was meant to be a hearty, warm thing. So people would go around singing different places, because they were looking for something to drink and something to eat and something to stay warm. So, so wassail, or it's called lamb's wool in some cases. A hot drink that involved roasted apples sometimes. Like I said, cider, ale, toast, all that sort of thing. And the wassailing that you hear about is actually a translation that meant drinking and singing to the trees. And I think it dates back to old pagan times. So anyway, kind of cool, but the intention there was to awaken the trees and drive away evil spirits to, ensure good harvest for the next season. So another thing that I have been interested in, I have been working on doing myself a fair amount recently, is the glue creeks and hop mold wines, that sort of thing. So so you can do this with ales, you can do this with creeks, and the idea is you incorporate your wine or your creek or whatever with sugar and cinnamon and clove and orange and other mulling spices, and just heat those up, and they become really good. People talk about like you heat something up and you're going to cook off all the alcohol. The thing is I've checked on that. Like, it takes a long time.
Well,
to
you
cook
warm
off all
it. Yeah, I mean, if you boil it and you're getting a lot of vapor, a lot of steam coming off there, you're probably pushing off more alcohol. But if you warm it slowly, because that's mulling, you just want it warm for those fruits and spices and stuff to leach out into your beverage there.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. People think it's cooking off. Not very much of it really is cooking off, like at the warming levels. Even if you get it close to a boil, like, it takes a long time for all of it to come off.
If you're boiling or flambeing or something, you'll lose your alcohol.
Yeah. If you add fire to it.
Yeah. It's Ron. What's it? You were saying
I would say you would increase your alcohol. You would increase your alcohol as you're decreasing the volume, you're evaporating the liquid, you're increasing your alcohol.
But doesn't the alcohol evaporate quicker than that? Like, isn't that kind of the way that's the way distillation works, right?
That is a possibility. I didn't think about that.
We didn't bring none of us are
I'm thinking as here, a mash and a boil, versus a something with alcohol already in it.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think because the alcohol does burn or vaporizes quicker, however. We're not science people here, really. We're beer drinkers more than scientists. So
indeed, yes. So yes, like basically adding your beverage with a bunch of mulling spices, some fruits, and some interesting things, heating that up. It's festive. It's nice.
Wine or a creek, either one.
Yeah,
is
creeks
a great
are great.
One to do it with,
like, you add a little extra sweetener to it because to make up for the sourness, the tart of it, and It turns out well. It used to be a thing. I'm trying to think of the place in Portland that was famous for starting off the Glue Creek. Oh, Cascade. You remember Cascade?
Oh, yeah.
That was
what
the thing.
What was the name of the joint in Denver? I think they ended up closing. We had them on the show because they did a still Glue Creek in a box, like a box wine. And it was the greatest thing ever. It was a 1.5 liter box of Glue Creek. And I know that they at one time, I think, shared space with another brewery, but I'm not sure if they're still
was
around.
it Primitive?
Primitive.
Yeah, it was Primitive.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that they're gone, but yeah, I like
hope they're
that.
not. I should look into that and see if they're still around. See if because they had told us one time, we get brewers all the time. They're like, hey, if you're ever in so-and-so, you ever do this or ever do that. But then 5 years goes by and I'm like, well, they even remember they said that. Cause I think they told us one time, give us a shout if you guys need anything. And I'd love to get another box of Glue Creek there.
Seriously.
So
yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun for sure. All right, y'all. We are going to go over our last 4 beers tasting, and we'll recap exactly what our top 3 were. But beer number 11 that we tasted was Rogue Santa's Private Reserve. And Michael, what'd you think of Santa from Rogue there?
I liked it. I didn't love it. It was, to me, what my notes say, it was a little on the bitter side. It was a heavy beer. It was a stout, had some roasty notes. Again, I thought it was a good beer. I gave it 4 out of 5. But there were some beers on this list that just, knocked my socks off. So it didn't make my top 3, but I certainly think it's a good beer. And if you can still find your Rogue, you might as well try to get it while you can.
Right? That's we started.
for sure.
So the first beer that we had, we liked pretty well, and then the next several were like, oh no, because if you guys remember from our Oktoberfest tasting, we noted that it wasn't a very strong showing overall from the Oktoberfest beer. So we were a little worried we were going to head that way, but we did. We did end up getting in there pretty good. Brian, what'd you think of the Rogue?
I like this one a fair amount. I actually predicted this was the Kirkland signature, and I have some history with Rogue. I'm from the Northwest. I'm from Portland, and I was never a huge Rogue fan. I like some of their stuff. I definitely didn't want them to go out of business or anything like that, but I said this was a great roasty stouts. It's a malty. I actually got a little touch of woodiness in it. That's what made me think it's like, oh, maybe this is the Kirkland. My notes say this is good, but it's not winning this competition. That was exactly it.
Well,
I like this. I actually would drink this again. I thought it was nice.
Good.
R.I.P. Rogue.
R.I.P. Rogue. I didn't like this one at all. I thought it was terrible. I didn't enjoy it, and I don't see the need to say much more than that. I just really did not enjoy that. And because you know what? We don't let numbers and lists rule our life. We're going to go from the 11th beer we drank back to the 10th beer that we drank there. And the number 10 beer that we drank was Sycamore Christmas Cookie. And Party Nate, what did you think of the Sycamore Christmas Cookie beer there, sir?
After so many of these beers that we drank, then we taste the Christmas cookie. I think that it doesn't really taste like a Christmas cookie, but it was so spicy. There's all these spices. There's the clove. There's the nutmeg. There's the cinnamon. It all came through. Such an interesting beer. I would happily drink this again. I don't think it doesn't take the cake in the competition of everything else that we drank, but this was definitely a contender for, I think, maybe most interesting of the beers that we drank today. And I know several of the people rating these, they asked for, hey, could I taste this again? And I was happy to pour it because it was a cool beer to have. I think that's the most that I could say at this moment.
Fair enough, man. Yeah. So I really like this one a lot. And as I was drinking it, all the spices you mentioned kind of fit into what I said. I guessed eggnog. I mean, they're saying Christmas cookie.
That's a good assessment.
To me, it tasted very eggnoggy there. If you told me this was an eggnog beer, I'd been like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Also got bubblegummy notes in it. So, I'm assuming from the yeast that they use there. But I said this was Christmas in a glass. I thought it definitely hit all the spices. If you gave me a beer and said this is a Christmas beer, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely
for sure. This tastes exactly what when you drink a beer and you think Christmas, this is exactly what you expect to taste. And I think that Sycamore did a very good job of encompassing what Christmas might taste like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't had a ton of Sycamore beers before, but I can say from trying this one, I really enjoyed it, especially as a Christmas beer, and would definitely explore them a little bit more. But Mike, Nate, what do you think, sir?
Yeah, when you mentioned that bubblegum eggnog, I definitely picked up both the bubblegum and the eggnog separately. It wasn't that they were overstepping each other. I misdiagnosed 9 as thinking that this was this beer. For 10, I just said this was good. I really enjoy this beer a whole lot. Like Tim said, I did also get the bubblegum eggnog. I got some really good malt notes to it. I got a little bit of that hint of the spice. We tried to figure out, Ron and I were dialoguing, trying to figure out what a Christmas cookie actually was. I was like, is that just a sugar cookie? Or what do you think of when Christmas cookie, in the most generic of terms, what is that? But honestly, if there was a Christmas cookie that tasted like that beer, I'm in for a dozen batches.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. And like you said, the bubblegum, like saying this tastes like eggnog and bubblegum is not a bad thing. If you say that to somebody, you'd be like, oh, yuck. But it worked. It was really good. And this one did make our top 3. This tied for our number 3 spot there. So, it got some votes. We had it, let me see, on our list. We had 2 of us voted for this on our list, but it was high enough up in our rankings that it did actually end up making the final cut there for sure. So that was a good one. And then again, because we don't have to listen to numbers, we're going to go to number 12 from number 10 there. So the 12th beer that we drank was St.Bernardus' Christmas Ale. And Brian, what'd you think of St.Bernardus?
I accurately predicted that, or diagnosed that this was Belgian. I did say it had a little heat to it. And I thought there was something a little odd about the way it finished. Like it did some weird things where it heated up sides of my mouth in strange ways. And I thought that was odd. And I think there might be certain sensitivity to some compound that's in there. But I said it was not a contender, which is too bad for St. Bernardus. Right. But I thought it was okay. So it did not rank very highly for me. It was middle of the pack.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough there. Ron, how about you, man? What did you think of this?
This was actually my 3rd ranked. I liked the dark cherry and stone fruit. It was not overly spiced, which is more in my wheelhouse. I really enjoyed it.
It did overall. It made 1, 2, 3 of our top 3 list there. So it did end up making it in, and that's the other one along with the Sycamore Christmas cookie. It tied for our number 3 spot there. So the St.Bernardus tied for number 3. Good beer. I've got number 13 here. Not really one of our competition beers, but this is where we threw Celebration into it. Brian, I think you're probably the biggest fan of the table of Celebration. What's your thoughts on that beer?
I feel like I was punked by Party Nates on this one because I initially tasted this with the context of thinking Christmas beers, rich Belgians, and all these spices, and I tasted like, oh my goodness, this is just not right. This is so bad. And I was like, wait a minute, these are hops. What is going on? I looked at the color of it. This is Celebration, and sure enough, it was Celebration. So the context switch, being out of context, shows you how important it is, your expectations are when you go into a beer. I approached Celebration, drank it, and didn't like it for about 5 seconds, Tim.
Because you're looking for a Christmas beer there, huh?
It was slightly traumatic to me, but I recovered. Yeah.
How dare we do that to you, man? Just horrible things. Well, guys, our 14th beer on the list was Samichlaus. And that's, you know what? I got things to say about Samichlaus. I love this one, y'all. It's a boozy. It's rich. It's sweet. There's good malty character to it. It's just a fantastic beer. I definitely think it says holidays to me. I do enjoy, especially at this time of year, the richer, thicker, deeper, kind of beers. And this one just hit everything I'm looking for in a holiday ale. It definitely was very high on my, on my rankings here. And I just all around think Samichlaus is a great beer, and I look forward to it every stinking time that I drink it there. So, but Michael, how about you, man? What'd you think of Samichlaus?
Samichlaus was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. This is what a Christmas beer should be. And when I say this is a Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby Christmas, not a Mariah Carey Christmas. This is
classic Christmas.
This is what you want to sit down and drink and enjoy and sip and be with friends. This one screams Christmas to me. All the things, the best things that we think about.
Which one of these beers would be the Mariah Carey Christmas beer?
Oh, I would have to say, in my personal opinion, Sweetwater was the Mariah Carey.
That was the Mariah
Honestly,
Carey.
I was going to say the same thing. What was my least favorite? That's Mariah.
That's it.
I want to brag that I saw this coming out. Party Nate was delivering it. And I looked at the glass. I'm like, I know what that is. This is the first time I've ever looked.
From looks, huh?
From looking at the beer.
I don't know if I believe
coming
that.
out.
I think you're telling stories.
Do you remember this? Did I say I know what this is?
Brian, that's the reverse of what you just said about the celebration.
It is
your
exactly.
eyes and your nose give you so much information about a beer before you sip it, and that's I've been fortunate enough to share Christmas and other beers with you guys over 5 years, and I've learned so much. And that's one of the things is there's so much to a beer beyond just the taste.
Absolutely,
the enjoying it with your eyes and your nose.
And that's even getting together in a group like this. We're all having a good time. We're having snacks. We're hanging out. It just setting the proper environment to enjoy it, I think, which unfortunately doesn't say good things about the beers we didn't like because everything else was pretty good there. But Party Nate, you look like you may have some things to say about Santa Claus.
I was going to comment on Brian talking about me bringing this out. And there's this seeing how these beers pour. Samichlaus for sure was the least heady. It didn't have a ton of carbonation, and the color was so good on it that, of course, it's easy to recognize. If you know what you're looking for, then it's really easy to say, I know what this beer is. So bringing it out, I kind of knew that this one would be easy to guess, and I'm very glad that this is the last one that I poured because it was such a good finish. It had the sweet. It felt homey. It was really. I think Mike said it. It's Christmas in a glass. Fantastic beer.
Just delicious stuff. And like you said, this was for the most part. I think there was a little carbonation in the body of the beer, but no head on it.
Yeah,
it looks still, and that's we were talking about, like the Glue Creek that comes in a box still. If you've got a big boozy beer with enough character, the carbonation doesn't matter as much.
Yeah,
and, in all these other beer styles, you want the carbonation because the beer will taste, flat, really, which is the case there. But Orpheus one time did a stout that really had very little head, very little carbonation there. It was low carbonated in that. And a lot of people complained about it. And I think they probably complained about it before they ever drank the beer, because if you drank the beer, it didn't need it in that very rich, Jason at Orpheus was known for making these big beers he did use adjuncts, flavored in that, but it didn't need it. And definitely on Samichlaus, it didn't detract from the beer at all. And that's one that we also talk about pokering our beers. The Samichlaus was one that we took the hot poker to, and it worked out wonderfully.
Fantastic. Try that if you get some Samichlaus.
It was very, very good. But y'all, that is our list of beers that we drank for the holidays. And we'll recap here real quick what our top threes were and go down the list. So Brian, just real quick, your 1, 2, and 3. What'd you get there?
So I had my number one was Samichlaus, and my number 2 was figuring out what it was. Oh, that was the N'Ice Chouffe, and the number 7, which was Scaldis, which I'm happy about Scaldis showing up in my top 3.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff. Mike, Nate, what was your 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3. Number 1 was Samichlaus. Number 10. Number 2 was the Sycamore, the Christmas cookie, and then my number 3 was the N'Ice Chouffe.
Very good stuff. And y'all, my tops here, my number 1 was the Samichlaus by a long shot. It was no question for me. My number 2 was the Sycamore Christmas cookie. I like that quite a lot. And my number 3 was the Bell's Christmas Ale, which I really enjoyed there. So, Michael, what's yours?
Well, not to be repetitive, but Samichlaus was number 1.
Yep.
It was everything you wanted in a Christmas beer. My number 2 was the St.Bernardus. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was just a well-constructed beer. And I'm with you, Tim. The Bell's was a really, really solid beer. And I think that's one that anybody can pick up and really enjoy.
Enjoy it there. Now, Ron, we've already established that your opinion is wrong here, but, you're still entitled
agree.
to it. So
I think
Ron, to throw us a little curveball here. What's that, Brian?
I think we agreed his was the Grinch pick.
The Grinch
Yes.
pick.
Yeah.
So I was in line with you when I rated, but my outlier Grinch pick was number
the number 7 beer, which was the Scaldis, right?
Well, no, number Scaldis scored number 2. it would have been the number 4 because it just tasted like a regular everyday
That's right.
beer.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy.
Yeah. Good stuff.
The Cold Mountain.
The Cold Mountain. And your number 1 was number 1, the Bells. That was your favorite, correct?
No, number 1 was the N'Ice Chouffe. Number
N'Ice
2 was
Chouffe.
the Scaldis. And 3 was the St. Bernardus.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong list here. Yep. So there we go. The good old St.Bernardus there. So, Party Nate, what's your ranking, sir?
My first was Samichlaus, like everybody else except for Ron. Samichlaus is such a good beer this year. I'm pleased at how that turned out. My number 2 was the N'Ice Chouffe, and N'Ice Chouffe has done kind of poorly in the past blind tastings. I was so surprised by how well it went this year. And then my number 3 was the St. Bernardus, which I think that they nailed it in what they've been trying to achieve year after year after year. It tasted what they believe that their beer should be.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, y'all, that is our rankings. Real quick, just recapping. Our number 1, easy enough to tell here, Samichlaus. It was pretty, and again, Ron, I'm, of course, giving you a hard time about being wrong here. But you know what? That's why there's so many different beers out there, y'all. We all have our different tastes and our different preferences there. But Samichlaus was a runaway. It was very popular with most of us there. So it got our number 1 spot. Tied for our number 2 spot was the N'Ice Chouffe and the Bell's Christmas Ale. And then tied in our number 3 spot was the St. Bernardus and the Sycamore Christmas Cookie. So we had some other good ones on here. Let's see what else got some votes. I think there was only one that got votes, but didn't get enough to actually get on the list, and that was the Scaldis. So, there's
love me some Scaldis.
That's 5 good holiday beers there to get into, and we've got some others in that. So before we wrap up here, we just want to give a shout out to our friends Rainy Day Brewing, Michael and Ron. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being Jewish, because it definitely helps out with the name of our show here. We appreciate that. To Nate, to Mo Mike Nate, to Party Nate for hosting us. We appreciate it very much. Rainy Day Brewing. You guys actually went out and brewed a beer this past weekend for an event coming up in Atlanta in February, I believe. But we are having the
January
coming
20th,
up.
I believe.
So the Atlanta Cask Ale tasting, which has been around a long time. I know it's been missed a year or two with all the COVID and different things going on. But you want to can you tell a little bit about the beer you got coming?
I think we can. The Eric out at Normal Town Brewing in Athens was kind enough to let us, as a couple of amateurs, come out and do a collaboration brew with him. We worked on him with some ideas. We came up with a big old stout, which isn't a traditional cask style, but we felt it would work in a cask. Like you were saying earlier, Brian, about some beers don't need the carbonation.
Right.
We felt that this beer wouldn't need it. And we think it's great. And so it's going to be at the Atlanta Cask Ale as a collaboration beer. Again, we can't say enough for the Atlanta beer community. The pro brewers here are so good to the amateur folks, and just like you guys are. We don't say it enough, but Brian and Tim and Nate, you invite us every year, and there's no reason to other than to be nice to us. So we really appreciate it.
It's good stuff, man. Absolutely. So we definitely encourage you, if you're in the Atlanta area or can get to the Atlanta area, the Atlanta Cask Ale tasting will have the beer from Rainy Day Brewing. It's a great event. Lots of unique one-off beers that you won't get anywhere else. So it's a good experience, and there's just a lot of cool people there. So check that out. Y'all, with that said, if you enjoy what we're doing here, we always appreciate you telling a friend to subscribe or listen to the show, especially this one. This is a popular episode we do every year on our Christmas beer. So check that out. If you really enjoy what we're doing, we'd love for you to go to patreon.com/beerguys and support us. We can definitely use it. We'll get you some cool swag, and we will also invite you into our Discord where you can chat with us and come to our after party when we do our live streams. It's a good time. Everybody wins. With that said, we hope you enjoy your very awesome holiday season, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.